everyone. This is Nikki Yu, also known as Faces Trader, and tonight we have a special guest. We're going to discuss how to make awesome 10x returns via real estate property investing. And in tonight's show, we invited Mr. Ian Kasim. He has 15 years work experience with Ayala's Alveo land. And I guess to begin, let's discuss how did you get involved in real estate property investing and what made you decide to be a real estate property agent for the last 15 years of your career?
All right. Hi, Nikki. Good evening. Hi,
Evening.
classmates. So I'm part of Awesome 10X also. So good evening, guys. So I started actually last 2006. So that's 15 years na. I
Mm-hmm.
started as a seller. So in short, agente. So for
Mm-hmm.
3 years, I was selling properties, and then I got promoted. I became a manager, and then later on, I acquired the position of area sales director or senior area sales director for Alveo Land. So that's how I started in real estate. And then I started investing way back 2015 lang. So parang 6 years ago lang. The
Mm-hmm.
reason I invested is I have several clients who are from Taiwan kasi we do road show. So I usually fly Asia, usually Asia. So Taiwan, Japan, Singapore. So I have a client na sobrang bulk buyer sila. Sila na bumibili ng 20 units, 30 units, 50 units. Then he suddenly asked me, Ian, do you have a property already here? Doon sa binibenta namin. So I said, none yet, sir. Pero I'm planning to buy one. Sabi niya, you have to invest also because you're selling the property. Why not buy also? Kasi how will the clients believe you, or paano sila maniniwala sa iyo if you yourself don't believe on the
But
property you're selling? So that's how I started, actually through a client. And through that, I actually avail of a very good term kasi way back 2015, medyo yung terms hindi siya ganun kabigat. Kasi hindi pa yun yung start ng boom eh. Yung start ng boom parang 2016 na yata, mga ganun. That's the time yung medyo bumigat yung mga terms, nagkaroon ng mga terms na hindi na ganun kadali for Filipinos to acquire property. So yun, buti na lang I invested that time. Then after that, um, nag-continue pa rin. I still invested on several properties. Right now, I have several. So mostly Ayala, mostly Alveo. Although I have also properties na by other developers. Ayun.
what are your basic parang criteria when you are looking for an investment as a property for long term?
I'm
What
sorry,
was
sorry,
your
Nikki.
what were your criteria when you were choosing which property to invest upon? The
So
developer
basically the first,
Ayala.
yeah. First of all, dapat yung location eh. So yun
Okay.
yung usual na na spill ng ahente or ng mga salesperson or real estate person. So you have to check the location. So the location should be good enough para at least later on if you want to resell it or lease it out, kasi that's how you earn in real estate. Eh. You can lease it out. So after the turnover, pwede mo siyang iparent. And then later on, once ayaw mo na siyang ipalis, you can sell it for a profit na. So I consider yung location and of course yung track record of the developer. Kasi importante rin siya na you don't just buy real estate from someone else na kung sino-sino lang, mga fly-by-night companies. So you have to
Baka
consider
hindi
kung
mas yung building, if ever.
exactly,
Baka
or
hindi tapos.
baka ang maganda lang is yung brochure. So usually, before ang labanan is brochure or yung presentation, and then later on, once the property is turned over, iba na yung lumalabas. So sa Alveo or sa Ayala in general, when we present something, yun talaga yung laman. And true enough, bought a property in BGC. Yung ahente pa ako way back 2006, there's a brochure na binibigay namin. And inisip ko nga before, sana talagang mangyari to. Siyempre, kaka-start ko lang. So medyo pa ako, medyo nagdadalawang isip whether we can deliver that. Kasi that's the first development na parang merong resort type sa loob. Resort type living. So it's in Serendre. So nung
Mhm.
after the turnover, ganun-ganon yung lumabas or ganun-ganon yung turnover ni Ayala or ni Alveo.
I'm very much impressed with a lot of Ayala properties, but and I
Thank
know
you.
that you're coming from Ayala. Are there some projects that are available today which people are still that you would recommend for people to look upon? Not necessarily to invest, pero parang just check para lang may watch list sila in case they have savings in the next 5 years or 3 years, in case they still have some available disposable income. What would you suggest for people to check upon Ayala projects today?
Yeah,
Since you're familiar with Ayala.
yes, you have two options actually.
BG.
Either
Mhm.
condo or lot. So right now, we have both. Marami kaming condo and we have lots of lots in the north or in the south. Yung sa north, yung Crovia, which is in Pampanga. And then sa south, basically Nuvali, Cavite, Silang. And then sa condos naman, very promising yung development namin in QC, in Vertis. Why? Because yeah, Vertis
Virtual,
North.
right?
Why? Because yes. We have a project there. It's called Orient. So kaya maganda yung area na yun is because of the infrastructures that are going to be built. So I'm sure all of you heard of the Mega Manila subway. There's going to be a station there, and then yung Grand Central Station for the MRT, doon magko-converge lahat yung MRT pati yung LRT. So doon yun itatayo, and then QC is or Vertis North is the first CBD na gagawin ng Ayala sa Quezon City. For the longest time, wala pang naging CBD ang Quezon City. So ngayon, yun yung ginawa ng Ayala para magkaroon ng parang CBD or parang Makati sa QC. And then there's
Mhm.
also, of course, Makati, still Makati. So we have several projects in Makati, one of which is Emergent Residences that's in Poblacion. So that's the first development that we have na pwedeng ipa-Airbnb. Kasi Nikki, I don't know if you're familiar, sa Alveo kasi or sa Ayala, bawal ang short-term lease. Pinaka-maiksi na is 6 months. So that project in Poblacion,
Like
I'm
one
sorry,
day stay. Yeah, so parang hindi siya makakompete sa hotels. So only
yes,
the population can be
yeah, yung
available.
Mergent. That's the first property that we have na pwedeng short-term or daily rates or parang condo hotel, kumbaga, pwede siya pa-Airbnb. So that is good for for people who are from abroad or mga OFWs, sorry, mga immigrants yan. So let's say they want to go home, no need for them to check in a hotel, di ba? Kasi daily rates pwede yon. So pag wala sila, they can lease it out to people who are willing to get a place in that area.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Other than relying on some real estate agent, what should a buyer of a property, may it be a condominium or an Ayala land or any real estate, which websites would you advise them to check out into? Para just for comparison. Example, they're looking to check an Ayala land project in Poblacion. Maybe they should check
Mhm.
out about a Robinson's Land project there, if there's any, another developer. So, are there potential websites to parang take a look at para to just check the relative pricing of these properties within the area? How would you advise anyone to do it? Google search lang ba
Yeah.
nila?
Mhm. I think most of the properties, right, or most of the developers right now have their own sites or
So you
pages.
go straight
So
to
they
each
can,
developer. Each
yes,
each website of each developer. Okay.
yeah,
So you
para
prefer
at least legitimate yung info na makukuha nila, or they can type sa Google, they can search it there or sa Facebook. Pero for us, we have our own website, we have our own Facebook ads, and then of course our company has their own their own Facebook account and yung website. Pero to be safe, kasi syempre, I'm not saying all of you guys to invest in Ayala only. So, kung gusto nyong mag-invest sa Mega World or SM or Century, you can check yung yung Google, you can search it sa Facebook din as well. And the best place to check is syempre yung legitimate na nila na website nila. At least hindi kayo maloloko kasi there are people who are selling or representing a company na dapat hindi naman kasi meron din mga illegal na mga sellers or real estate agents. So yun yung medyo delikado.
I have a question. Kasi parang mukhang lahat ng development ngayon, even in a pandemic, medyo mataas pa rin yung pricing. 150,000, 200,000. Meron pa rin bang mga, what could you say with the pricing of most of the projects, not necessarily about Ayala land condos or other developers? Don't you think that it's a little bit high? And if it's not high, what are the basic factors to consider to say that 125,000 isn't high or 225,000 isn't high? Parang what are the determinant factors of these prices? Kasi typically ngayon nasa mga 7 million pesos, 8 million pesos for a 50 square meter unit. So naglalaro sa 140, 160K, sometimes 250K. So ano ba yung basis that you can think of versus if they just find a different I think some people ngayon nahihilig din sila to just go outside Manila kasi it's cheaper outside Manila kasi ang mahal na ng mga properties in Manila. Maybe you can discuss to the viewers out there, what are your comments on prices within Manila and outside Manila and the discrepancies perhaps of the growth between those two?
All right. Wait. Nikki, yung prices na sinasabi mo or yung rough estimate like 160 to 250, that's per square, right?
Per square meter,
talking about
yes. Per square meter.
Guys,
baka nga higher
right now,
pa sa iba ngayon.
Yeah, wala nang 160.
Wala nang ganun. Puro 200.
Wala na. Yeah, that was 5 years ago, I think, yung 160. Right now, nasa 250 and above na. So, before, nasa 100, tapos naging 150, and then 200, 250, 260, 300. So even Makapagal siya yung isa sa pinakamataas per square, yung Makapagal area. So mas mataas pa siya sa BGC and Makati. Why? Because of the what do you call this? Yung mga casinos pati yung mga online gambling na activities like Pogos, sila yung nagpataas ng price. So basically, I'll talk in general na lang, siguro. Kasi we have properties, we have properties in in Cebu, in Davao, even in Cagayan de Oro. Yung properties ng Alveo in those areas like Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, magkakaparehas na yung presyo. And I think even mga properties ng SM, ng Mega World, ng Robinsons, more or less doon na naglalaro yung prices nila per square. So, what I can say is, wala na talagang wala na tayong magagawa dun sa price kasi Philippines is a developing country. Let's face it, merong maraming nagsasabi na medyo parang hindi naman, pero we are slowly developing. As a matter of fact, yung mga infrastructures right now, I don't want to sound political, pero yung mga infrastructures right now are helping. So for example lang yung what do you call that? Yung sa South Super, yung extension hanggang
yung ginawa ni San Miguel
highway
Road, yung infrastructure ni San Miguel.
Exactly. Yung na yun, Skyway Phase 3. Yun. That's the exact name of that. Yeah. Yung Skyway Phase 3, pinaiksi niya talaga yung biyahe from the south going to the north. So, in short, yung Singapore, medyo malayo yung comparison, pero ganun yung ganun kino-compare before. We are like Singapore 30 years ago nga lang. We're like Singapore 30 years ago. So, basically, Singapore daw 30 years ago, ganyan din. Nag-start sila ng mga infrastructure, nagkaroon ng mga train networks, di ba? So, pag nagawa na yung ano natin, yung Mega Manila Subway, yung mga trains hanggang Pampanga, hanggang Tarlac, hanggang Batangas, in a way, medyo dadali yung yung transportation, pati yung in a way business as well, 'di ba? So, uh, what I'm saying is yung price talaga hindi na siya bababa. Kasi nandiyan na yun pataas na lang yun ng pataas. Kasi nga, because of the infrastructures and because of the investors before coming in. But right now, hindi siya ganun dahil nga, medyo natatakot dun sa situation right now because of COVID. But, my opinion and even the opinion of our bosses and yung mga experts na usually nagtotalk sa amin, hindi naman for good yung COVID. 'Di ba? Some other countries are actually having vaccines na medyo nakaka-recover na. As a matter of fact, Australia, hindi na kailangan mag-mask, 'di ba? So, pwede sila mag-party, they can go out. So, later on, makakarating din tayo dun. So, for sure, babalik din sa normal, quote-unquote, yung scenario sa Philippines. So, yung sa investing, it's up to you whether you want something sa province or sa
More
CBD.
on sa
So,
urban.
yeah, Central
I have
Business
a
District.
question. If one wanted to invest something like as high as a 10 million peso or 6 million peso condo, how much money should they appropriate per year given the uncertainty of businesses? Right now, what would you advise if you were, di ba, you're selling it to a client? What would a client have to show up in their bank account para lang they can confidently pay for those terms? Can you innovate? Can you share like the new financing terms that Ayala is offering? And are there parang easy installment buy now, pay later plans? Yung mga 10 years term or 7 years term, ganun. So mahal
Okay.
kasi pag mga 10 million amounts, but how does Ayala help actually the consumers, I mean the Filipino real estate buyers?
Especially right now, no? Kasi pandemic.
COVID,
So,
oo.
yeah. To answer your question, Nikki, right now, what Ayala did, or Alveo in particular, what we did is we formulate a term na magiging friendly for possible investors. So before, ang initial investment namin supposedly dapat at least 10% yung down payment. And then,
Mhm.
yung premium mo or yung dapat mabayaran mo before the loan or before the turnover is at least 50%. But right now, what Alveo is offering is like 25% of the total price payable in 7 years. Depende kung kailan yung turnover. So, basically, 30,000 a month for studio without any down payment. So, other developers kasi, yung iba nag-discount, nagbaba ng presyo. Ayala will never do that kasi we're actually protecting the interest of the client. So, parang lugi naman. Let's say, ikaw, Nikki, bumili ka sa akin like before pandemic, like 2 years ago, right? Kunyari, bumili ka. Ang presyo mo before let's say, bumili ka ng 2 bedroom, presyo mo before nasa 15M or 14M, ganun. Tapos biglang i-discount, how would you feel? Diba? Parang ni-rep off ka or nalugi ka dun sa investment mo. So, hindi
Dahil sa
ginagawa ng
COVID.
Kayala yon. Yeah, so what we did lang, same pa rin yung price, ganun pa rin, tumaas pa nga actually nung last year, nagkaroon ng konting increase kasi believe it or not, medyo okay din yung sales last year. Although hindi namin mako-compare sa previous years kasi syempre before pandemic sobrang taas. Pero at least we still hit our quotas or yung pinaka-target namin. So yun nga, we formulated yung mga terms na very flexible or sobrang liit nung yung ilalabas mo or investment mo. So for example, for a 1 bedroom in Mergent in Poblacion, Makati. So imagine you live in Makati na then in Poblacion, 36,000 monthly. So that's payable in 84 months. So wala kang ibang ilalabas. Before you have to put down a down payment at least 10%. So millions yun agad. Ngayon, 34,000 monthly. Yun, 36, sorry. For a 1 bedroom na. So
Tapos
parang,
you pay the last tranche on the seventh year upon
yes.
turnover, which you can still avail pa ba a loan para just in case mabigat, let's say, 6 million or 7 million na isang bagsakan. Does
Mhm.
BPI offer easy loans for the Ayala land properties? How
Yeah. So
have you seen financing terms that were really very easy for anyone to afford an Ayala property?
one good thing right now, although hindi pa naman maglo-loan, let's say you invest right now, hindi ka pa naman maglo-loan eh. You'll start with your loan after the turnover. So that's 7 years from now. So ngayon, mababa yung interest rates. So I think yun yung isang magiging ano, if that continues, sorry, yun yung mga ano, yun yung maganda kasi mababa yung rates natin sa bank. So 80% yung pwede mong i-loan through bank. So hindi porket
So
Ayala
you
kami,
could
BPI lang.
yun.
So all major
Okay.
banks
So
pwede.
major banks. Question
Yeah, all
lang,
major banks.
how high would the interest rates be every year if you were loaning a portion and paying interest? Parang do you guys do that instead of a lump sum? Kasi typically, ang hirap for a Filipino to have may 7 million, ibabagsak siya ngayon, or 10 million, ibabagsak siya. It would be easier to just pay, okay, 70,000 every month. Can I pay a portion of my loan so that it pays for my lump sum then in the end? May mga ganun ba na
Mhm.
package yung mga Ayala? Or ano,
Yeah.
pretty
Basic
customized? Sige
yes.
lang.
Right now we can customize the term. Pwede naman tayo customize ng term. And then, let's say, di ba, you have a lump sum of 80% at the end. What I usually advise the clients is not to give that to Alveo or to our company muna. Buti pa ipunin mo muna or invest it in Awesome10X or sa stocks, di ba?
Maraming
Kasi
stocks,
pwede pa
tapos
lumaki.
sa dulo mo na lang siya
Yes.
ibabay.
Imagine, Nikki,
Okay.
if I have like 1 million na extra, instead of me paying Alveo dun sa lump sum ko para mabawasan yung 7 para maging 6, invest ko na lang sa stocks. So I'll find someone someone like you, di ba, who will guide me to invest
Invest
somewhere.
those stocks
Pwedeng
first.
maging
Okay.
10 times, di ba? 7 years sa stocks,
So,
baka pwede na
parang you
mag
buy a
times 10 eh.
property. I have
Baka
a
after
question.
7 years, hindi mo na kailangan mag-loan, mabayaran mo na.
I have a question. How much price appreciation should people expect if they're investing in Ayala Land condominiums on average, in your experience,
All
for
right,
the
yeah.
last 15 years?
So, this is based on experience. So, walang halong beer or pag-aahente. Average of 8 to 10%, sobrang modest yon. Yun yung average increase per year ng properties namin. And then, after the turnover, that's when the property or the price of the property jumps. So, let's say turnover ko is in 5 years time. So parang magkakaroon siya ng more or less 50% na na appreciation. And then pag na-turnover na sa'yo, bigla siya nagdodoble. So I'll cite an example. I have a property in Makati. Ano rin siya, Alveo, sa Lerato. I bought it around 3 3 point something, ganun, mga 3.4, 3.3 more or less. Right now, the price is around kung magbe-base ako dun sa price ng ng company, around 8 to 9 million. Pero kung dun sa going price na kasi nga
Second.
pandemic ngayon, yeah, there are people willing to buy at 6 or 6.5. So parang doble na rin siya. Mm-hmm.
So usually, if you are buying a property with exact cash, you go to a secondary market, diba?
Yes,
How
yun yung
liquid
ma-advise ko.
secondary market? Parang for Ayala properties, would you suggest na one reason why people invest or buy Ayala projects is because para siyang nag-appreciate, and then even if you wanted to liquidate, there's always a ready buyer. How long does it take to find a buyer? Kasi you're an agent for Ayala. How long
Mm-hmm.
does it normally take? And how big of a discount do you need to give when you're selling your property, let's say within a year or 2 years time? Ganun. How do
Usually
you
kasi when you want,
so usually the real estate agents know the market better. Tama ba? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
there's no huge, actually, there's no huge information on the actual pricing on secondary. Parang pwedeng
Mm-hmm.
8 million, pwedeng 7M. Kasi wala naman siyang bid-ask talaga na,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'm selling a property, who wants to buy? So parang medyo, they are, in a way, parang nagiging average. So you could say, oh, may buyer sa 6.5, uy, may buyer na 7M. So if you were the seller, syempre you'd prefer selling it at 7. Pero
Seven.
yun yung mga bagay na how much is the typical price discounts ba in sales in secondary versus the retail price? 10%, 20% discount, ganun.
Depende kasi, Nikki. I can't actually give you the exact
There's no
discount.
actual.
Wala eh. Depende kasi on the property. Kasi minsan, a property in BGC or in Makati is different from a property, let's say, in Ortigas or in Alabang
Older na rin
or
kasi. Saka yung age din siguro ng property. Like if it's a
exactly.
10-year-old property versus a 5-year-old property, there's a huge difference in discounts.
Yeah.
Usually ba, given the price appreciation of 8 to 10% a year, I know that right now real estate is very hard to find a tenant. How has Ayala been coping? Kasi diba real estate prices might not have gone down, but definitely the occupancy would have been a little bit hit hard to the point that you have to
Mhm.
provide rental discounts. How does the leasing today work? Did the prices give discounts to residential?
Mhm. Kasi one good thing about Alveo or Ayala as a whole, we have a property management. So, meron ding nagpapa-lease and then they control yung prices. Kaya lang syempre, minsan, let's say I'm an owner, hindi na rin naman ako makokontrol nung property
If you
manager. Let's say
wanted
ako,
to get a tenant kagad, you provide a discount na lang.
yeah, yes. Pero ang ano doon, we have a fixed talaga. We have a fixed like price per square meter in terms of rental. Usually it's around 1,000 to 1,200 per square. Yun yung sa Alveo.
So a typical rent, if it was a 40 square meter project, would fetch about 48,000. Is that still
More or less
realistic
ganun.
to base price? Meaning, if I invest in a 14M, yung mga 40 square meter, you said, sabihin na natin, mga 12M yan.
Mhm.
So, ang typical yield would be about 5%. Parang
Mhm.
5%. So, kung 10 million yung project, baka you can get 500,000. Is that a normal barometer? Parang ganun ba yung price yield that you are expecting per month for an
Um,
Ayala?
yeah, to be honest, Nikki, yung rental yield medyo bumaba siya ng konti compared to before, like 3 years ago. Kasi syempre the prices before
Maas yung price.
is smaller, di ba? Is less compared to what we have right now. So, mas
Yeah.
mataas talaga yung magiging rental yield mo. So, ang ano dyan, usually kasi, what we say to clients is, later on kasi, magkakaroon din ng adjustment dun sa sa prices per square if you want to rent out your property. Kasi for the longest time nasa 1,000 to 1,200 siya eh. Kaya lang ngayon hindi tayo makapag-adjust kasi nga because of what's happening, 'di ba? Because of the pandemic or because of the crisis. So later on, we in Ayala think na tataas din talaga yung rental, especially yung mga projects na strategically located. That's why it's important also to check kung ano yung meron doon sa property na yun before you buy. Ano yung magiging possible na or kung sino yung mga possible na magiging tenants mo, 'di ba? Kasi it's actually kailangan talaga na i-check mo kung sino yung mga taong magre-rent doon. So,
Magiging
the best pa
neighbors
rin talaga to invest. The best to invest in a property in a CBD or Central Business District. Then, doon sa mga uh, leisure area lang or kasi pwedeng magkaroon ng magkaroon ng something tapos biglang mawala sila, walang mag-rent sa'yo, walang mag-lease sa'yo. Diba? Unlike, let's say, Central Business District, diba? Pag bumalik, everything goes to normal, balik na ulit sa trabaho yung meron pa rin mag-rent. Or, let's say, ako, balik bayan, syempre gusto ko tumira somewhere do sa lahat within reach, di ba? Or kung ako foreigner, same.
Ano yung typical na nangyayari sa mga properties na kasi nagkaroon ng pandemic, they have a harder time paying for their property. What do
Mhm.
agents actually offer to their clients so that hindi siya ma-mortgage or hindi siya mapunta sa bank? You
Okay.
offer secondary, that's one. So there's a ready access naman in the market for secondary, at least kung nag-deposit man sila ng let's say 3 million or 5 million in a project, hindi nila na-finish, either they take a loan or they sell in the secondary market. What other, kasi hindi natin alam, some people lost their jobs or some people
Yeah, yeah.
have a business na natumba rin, or kung hindi man natumba, very low revenues or 50% less revenues than before. Typical ba ngayon? I mean, from a property agent perspective, ano ba nangyayari sa mga buyers right now? Do they express a difficulty in paying, and then, or parang typically kasi Ayala projects naman, ang mga nag-engage na buyers may pera rin. So hindi sila
Mhm.
masyado sensitive sa mga economic problems. I don't know, nahihirapan ba ang Ayala in terms of, actually, it's not about Ayala. I think it goes for the properties
For
in
all.
general,
Yeah, for all.
Philippines, yeah, for all. I know that you come from Ayala experience, pero
Mhm.
would real estate be as easy to pay given sa bagay, Ayala already handled it with the financing terms nga.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Siguro
I
has it been hard? Mhm. Did the buyers express any
um
even prior buyers?
sige. I'll be honest, Nikki. We have clients na nahirapan din talaga. Kasi sorry. Do you
Kasi
hear me?
200,
Sorry.
yeah, I can hear you. 100,000
Okay. Okay, yun.
amortization
So,
could be a huge thing.
meron talagang nahirapan kasi before yung mga terms nila is not as flexible as what we're offering right now. Before kasi minimum na you're buying a studio, pinakamaliit mo ng monthly is around 60 to 70,000. That was before. So, yung iba mga 3 bedrooms o 2 bedrooms nasa 100 to
Malaki.
200,000 monthly sila. So, meron talagang tinamaan din yung business, meron ding na layoff, meron na wala ng negosyo. So, what Ayala did is we extended assistance to
The payment
clients.
was
So,
fine for
right
7 to 10.
now, not exactly, pero based on experience also and based dun sa ginagawa ng company namin, yung mga clients na medyo nahirapan nag-appeal, yung mga appeal naman nila pinakinggan ng company and then ni-restructure yung payment term. So in short, walang interest yon. So binago yung payment term nila. Hindi na yung kagaya before na mabigat. So parang in-adjust to in a way yung medyo mas kaya nilang bayaran. Or yung iba nga actually nagkaroon pa ng payment holiday eh. So, syempre naintindihan din naman ng Alveo or ng Ayala as a whole. And then, I want to add also na, guys, our company, Ayala, or Alveo, or even Ayala Land Premier or Avida, kasi lahat yan, subsidiary ng Ayala Land. We have credit investigation. So, we don't just sell to clients. So, we see to it na dapat si client kaya bayaran yung bibili niya. So, you have to submit several documents muna before we approve you na yan, pwede kang bumili dito kasi you provided us your income statement or COE or your ITR or your bank statement. So, yun yung basis namin to approve whether pwede kang bumili or not. Kasi that helps also the client eh, and even the company. Kasi later on, magkaka-problem, baka magkaroon mga issue, di ba? So, that's what our company is doing. So, for the longest time, we have credit investigation muna before we allow you to invest in an Ayala property or in an Alvea property.
You mentioned a while ago that the quotas were still hit by Ayala, so congrats for that. What are the key factors do you think has happened that Ayala Land or versus other developers were able to pivot even. Actually, siguro that would be a good pivot. The fact that they allowed easier, flexible payment terms dahil alam naman nila pag
Exactly.
pandemic, hirap din yung mga businesses to pay a lot for a monthly. Um,
Everyone here up.
oh, yeah. So,
Mm.
hirap din yung mga rentals, even the ones who are renting from a leasing standpoint then. So, I don't know, siguro parang on one end, I believe in the properties as a long-term asset talaga. And 10% in a year, 8% is still better than nothing. It's not a 10x, syempre. It's
Mhm.
still 1x, 2x versus
Mhm.
time deposit. How do you see Filipinos in general parang putting properties in their investment portfolios? Kasi most people in the Philippines, siguro when they're young, ang nasa utak lang nila, they want to invest in stocks, they want to invest in crypto, they want to invest in mga bonds. And typically talaga, they might want to invest in properties, but they tell themselves, I only have 50,000, 100,000 pesos. When would I ever own a property? Was So it's always been about price as a factor, di ba? Na parang, what if I don't have 10 million pesos? How can I afford this? What are the lowest barriers? Siguro it doesn't have to be in Ayala. Assuming that somebody wanted to own a property, where should they actually look at? Should they go outside Manila? Maybe there's a house and lot outside that they could build. Kasi it's something that they would probably want to own in the next 10 to 15 years, whether it's
Mhm.
for themselves or for their future families or papaupa nila to somebody. I mean, how big? Kasi pwede naman siya a dream, di ba? It doesn't have to be executed today. What would be your advice to people who don't have properties as an investment in any portfolio? Parang how should they start beginning? I mean, how did you even, parang, what made you, I mean, you said you were doing real estate. So, ano yung nasa utak mo na, I can afford a 5 million, 10 million property already? What is the size of my disposable income? And what is that percentage that I would allocate for properties? Did you allocate, say, 50% of your every annual income to properties para mapag-ipunan mo yun? What should Filipinos parang aspire for their dream, di ba?
Okay. Basically, I started with a low monthly kasi yun yung nagiging parang clincher for me. Kapag okay yung payment term, if kaya nung income ko, hindi ako mahihirapan. And that's my advice also. If ever you want to invest in a property, dapat hindi yung sa pilitan or napilitan ka lang para meron ka lang. Kasi later on, magba-backfire sa'yo eh. Baka mamaya kapusin ka, di ba? Hindi enough yung income mo for a month. And then, baka makuha lang siya ng bank or ma-forfeit lang yung mga nabayad mo. So basically, you have to check your payment capacity. How you can pay, or okay lang ba na mag-dispose ka ng gantong amount? Okay lang ba na magbayad ka 50,000 monthly for the next next 5 years or 7 years? 'Di ba? Yun yung kailangan i-consider. So, ako, tinitignan ko lang kasi usually is yung monthly. Kasi if
Monthly
for me
amortization.
for me, kung titignan ko yung price as a whole, parang magiging hesitant ako to invest. And the reason why I invest right now is to get passive income later on. Kasi yung sinabi mo a while ago, Nikki, na 1x, 2x, 3x, yeah, totoo yun. Hindi siya agad-agad 10x. Pero later on, kasi pwede. Let's say you have a property somewhere na somewhere in Makati or even in the province like Bataan or Laguna or in Cebu, 'di ba? Ang maganda doon kasi meron kang pwedeng ipamana, 'di ba? Later on, pwede mo siyang ipamana sa children mo. And right now, the prices are going up and up and up. Wala nang katapusan yung pagtaas. So this happened to Taiwan and even to Hong Kong. right now, yung mga kids doon, yung mga bata or yung mga nag-start na ng mag-work, hirap na sila bumili ng property because of the prices. Dahil sumobra na yung taas eh. So ngayon, parang iilan na lang talaga yung capable bumili. So yung ibang clients ko, yung sinabi sa akin, that's why, kaya daw dati bumili sila doon. Dahil at least merong magiging property anak nila. Let's say di kayang bumili, di ba? Meron silang parang maiwan na legacy do sa kids nila or do sa family nila. So yun yung isa sa maganda, di ba? You're investing, you're getting returns through rental or later on kung gusto mong ibenta, meron ka pang legacy or pwedeng ipamana sa family mo. Tsaka iko-quote ko lang yung sinasabi palagi nung mentor ko si Sir Rex Mendoza. Head namin siya sa Alveo before na let's say nothing against sa ibang investment portfolio. Iba yung let's say nandun ka sa property, I have kids, nandun yung wife ko, 'di ba? Ibang pamilya or even yung mga apo ko nandun na. Then papapicture ka. Ito yung andito kami sa property namin somewhere in let's say in BGC or somewhere in Cebu, parang resort, 'di ba? Iba yung feeling kaysa dun sa meron ka lang certificate na kumita ka ng let's say sa bonds. Parang ang hirap magpa-picture with your family na hawak may certificate ng bond, 'di ba? So, mas
So,
maganda pa-picture kayo sa ano.
yeah, and I think parang it is an actual physical asset that the entire family
Exactly.
looks and sees,
Can
and
enjoy.
even the
Yeah.
outsiders. So parang it could be seen as not necessarily as a status symbol, pero kasi if you buy a car, so what? And a car also is 1.5 million, 2 million. Probably there are cars that are 5 million, 10 million. So at least this one, you get to show that, hey, this is part of what I've saved up for in the last 7 years or in the last 10
Exactly.
years. So it's not naman parang an instant wealth, but it's something that you are happy to show to your friends, to your family, so, and for yourself, honestly. So parang instead of
Exactly.
perhaps spending 500,000 pesos on maliliit na bagay, sometimes because you're looking at, ay shucks, I can't afford 5 million or 10 million, you forget the fact na, oh, it's just actually 50,000 per month. It's not really something that you should see as a difficult thing to achieve. So parang you break it up into 100 months, and that's when you'll notice na it's not actually as expensive as you think. If 10 million is hard to think, just think about it as 1 million a year, and mas makakayanan mo na yung payment terms.
Yes.
Parang just
Parang
allocate 80K.
Yeah. Parang in terms right now, parang pang shopping lang nga actually before. Or yung iba nga, bill lang pagka kumain ka sa labas or nag-night out ka, di ba? Ganun ka-attractive in terms right now. So, parang best time to actually take advantage or to invest is lalo kapag merong pandemic or crisis. Crisis pala. Kasi syempre lahat ng opportunities are there.
Marami actually right now are also trying to renovate existing properties na lang kasi it could be an old property that they can still buy for less than 100,000. Siguro yun na lang yung another area of opportunity given that new properties today are quite expensive. So some properties are in Makati, good location, pero 10-year-old property. So secondary market ng iba. Pero that's actually, I never asked. How does Ayala secondary markets go for? I mean, given that the pre-selling right now is trading at 250,000 pesos, are the secondary properties of Ayala, let's say 5-year-old or 10-year-old, trading at 20% lower or 30% lower? How does it work? Or same price, 250K din, kasi Makati and Makati pa rin. How does the old compare to the pre-selling of the new ones?
Actually, yung existing right now, for example, Salcedo, yung mga Salcedo, 1 Salcedo, 2 Salcedo, 3 Salcedo, more or less, halos ganun yung price, although mas mababa ng konti. Kaya lang, the only difference is you have to pay cash. You have to pay cash if you want something na ready.
7 years or 8 years. Kasi if you buy that outright, diretso na yung payment. If it's 10 million on a new condo, it's also 10 million on an old condo, baka 9 million, ganun lang. The difference is 10%. In the secondary,
More
on
or
the
less, oo.
more
Merong
or
iba
less.
20%, merong 30. I'll be honest, meron ding 10. Depende kasi talaga, Nikki, sa location eh. So
Mm-mm.
iba-iba, tsaka
Depende
depende kung
siguro how well maintained the units are. Kasi it could be a 10-year-old property, pero medyo maalaga yung tenant. So, hindi rin siya magbibigay ng big discounts.
yes, yes.
Siguro. Versus the
Tsaka yun nga,
pre-selling properties there.
so yun nga, you have to be ready to pay yung cash. Kasi nga, ready
Mm-mm.
na yun. So you can use it as soon as possible. As soon as you pay. Unlike yung pre-selling, di ba? Parang nag-iipon ka lang. Or
I
ako nga,
never asked
nilagay ko before, forced investment.
pala. I'm sorry, I know that the time is running out soon. Did you ever flip a condo in your investment? And what was your experience? Mm-mm.
Yeah, I already did. And I earned. Medyo naka-earn ako doon kasi I have a property in Circuit Makati before. I bought it nung start pa lang din. Medyo kaka-start pa lang. And I was able to sell halos doble.
This was the Circuit Makati condo mismo in the mall. Diba there's
Yes, yes.
residences in Circuit Makati?
Yeah. I have a property there.
What I never asked, from a real estate agent perspective, ano ba yung mas magandang units na nabebenta? The one bedroom, the two bedrooms, or halos parehas lang naman?
Good question. That would depend on the location, kung saan ka bumibili. So for example, sa BGC, ang medyo malakas i-rent out or usually binibili for resale is yung mga malalaki na units. Why? Kasi mga expats, usually sila yung nagre-rent dyan eh. Tsaka sila rin yung bumibili. Sa Makati, a one bedroom or two bedroom is okay. Or even a studio is okay. So, parang in a way, hindi ko ma-suggest na, let's say for investment, pibili ka ng 3 bedroom sa Makati. Maybe, kung gagamitin mo, pwede. Why not? Kaya lang, if you want to rent it out, di ba? Or kung i-flip mo later on, pwede rin. Pero kung papalis mo lang, baka, let's say, bumili ka sa akin, Nikki, maipit ako sa'yo, sabi mo, di mo na parent yan. So usually, I suggest clients to get a smaller unit kapag Makati area, like 2 or 1 bedroom. So easier to lease out.
Mm-mm. So the use cases are the most important factor kung saan yung location. If it's BGC, since work area, pero marami foreigners, so bigger units. Then if
Bigger
it's in
talaga, even sa resale.
leasing it out, kung Airbnb style, it's better to just get the one bedroom there. Okay,
Yeah.
sige. Maraming foreigners pa rin ang coming into buying the condos. Pero predominantly, what's the mix right now? Is it 70-30, domestic 70? How many OFWs and Filipinos are buying the Ayala condos or units versus the foreigners? Is it
Is this
50-50?
for this year, last year, or
I guess
couple of
over
years ago?
time. You mentioned kasi
Over
that
time.
the Taiwanese and the foreigners are buying a lot of units in Manila. Siguro over time, nag-i-increase yung foreign, no? Kasi affordability in Philippines is relatively cheaper compared nga, as you said, versus Hong Kong. What's happening in the trend? You see more foreign buyers in Philippine properties?
Okay. Nikki, believe it or not, this pandemic, last year, pati ngayon, locals lahat pumibili. So, before, nagkaroon ng surge sa we started with Koreans. Sila yung unang nag-start mag-invest in the Philippines. So that was 2007, I think, or 2008. And then Japanese, and then Singaporeans, and then dumating yung Taiwanese, and then Chinese. Chinese yung last 3 to 4 years. Yun, sila yung medyo malakas yung bumibili, even yung mga Singaporeans. And then konting mix na mga Americans and mga Europeans, pero predominantly puro Asians yung bumibili. So that was before pandemic. Pero this pandemic, mostly talaga parang around 95% ng bumibili Filipinos. So Filipinos working
Ay, sige. Filipinos working in
Yeah.
the Philippines or
Filipinos working
Filipinos?
abroad,
Okay.
mixed din.
So
Filipinos
they
working
want,
abroad and Filipinos working here. Kasi there are lots of Filipinos who pivoted. 'Di ba nagkaroon ng pandemic, some of them nagpivot dun sa business nila, nag-online business, nagparating ng mga mask, nagparating ng mga face shield,
so they
nag-ano
wanted
ng
to buy property as their savings
yes.
from their
Mm.
businesses. Siguro. Kasi I
Kasi
think what happened is that they saw resiliency in the property investments versus other businesses. Kasi if they invested in a business, pwedeng natumba yung business, or kung hindi man
tama.
natumba, half the size. So when they saw na, oy, I should have invested in Ayala property 5 years ago, I would have appreciated some money, kahit naman
Mhm.
10% a year lang, it's still better than if I didn't invest it in an Ayala property. So I think parang the pandemic showed the resiliency of the Philippine property as an investment na hindi siya natumba. In fact, pandemic, prices were the same. 14 million is still 14 million condo. It didn't fall,
Yeah.
unlike, say, stocks, bumabagsak yan. Actually, stocks are fickle. They go down, they go up. Unlike properties, talaga, they run at a relatively stable siya, for every year. When you give an 8
Yes.
to 10% CAGR, talagang siya, very stable nga. I think that's what most Filipinos like. Parang naging asset class ng mga, actually, property became an asset class of the super rich. I don't know if you can
Not really, not really.
hindi naman. Pero parang
Kasi meron na ring ano.
I felt lang na kasi ang mahal na ng properties, parang 40 million, 50 million, yung mga house and lots, some of them go 100
Mm.
plus million. So parang the condos is just really more of parang naging average working class siya na investment. Yun nga, as you said, 8 million. Parang ang hirap na makahanap ng less than 5M now. Unless siguro old
Mm.
property or different
Or
developer,
maliit.
very
Or maliit.
location,
Mm.
or maliit na nga lang siya. Oo. So it's, yeah. I guess to end this, what would you like to tell to everyone who hasn't invested in a property yet, and maybe a little bit of encouragement na rin na I know that it's a little bit tough right now for most Filipinos, why they
Yeah.
should consider pa rin investing in a property even if it takes time. They should plan ahead. What should they do? Yun, mga ganong mga
Okay.
statements, I suppose.
All right.
Go.
Sige. First of all, land is scarce. Hindi nanganganak or hindi dumadami yung land. Paubos ng paubos. But the population or the number of people are getting bigger and bigger. Parami tayo ng parami. So, yung need for a home or a lot or a property, andyan palagi. So, actually, the best time to invest really is always today. Or actually, the best time was yesterday. Kaya lang, second best is today. So, sayang yung opportunity if papalagpasin mo. Again, if you have that money right now or if you have that savings right now in the bank, tapos before kino-consider mo na mag-invest sa property, tapos dumating yung gatong opportunity, like no down payment, di ba? For as low as 30,000, 40,000 lang, hindi ka maglalabas ng million. Bakit hindi pa take advantage or why not grab it? Kasi andyan na yung opportunity. So don't wait for it to be okay. Don't wait for the situation to be okay. Kasi later on, once maging okay lahat yan will go back to normal. So yung terms na ino-offer ng lahat, not only Ayala or not only Alveo, will go back to normal. Wala na yung mga parang good deals or parang barat bid, di ba? Awesome 10X term, barat bid. Wala nang ganun, mawawala na yun. So, might as well take advantage of it if you have that money right now. Pero again, don't force yourself to investing kung feeling mo hindi mo rin kakayanin. Kasi you have to consider also yung sinabi nga ni Nikki, yung cash flow mo. Diba? Kasi ikaw din mahihirapan later on. Baka mamaya, maipit ka rin pag dumating yung time na hindi mo na kayang bayaran. Kasi kapag nangyari yun, pwedeng i-forfeit yung binayad mo or makang ma-refund pero nalugi ka. Hindi mo ma-refund lahat usually kapag ka ganon. So unless maibenta natin yung property mo to secondary market, pwedeng balik sa'yo or pwedeng kumita ka. So Before you invest, yun talaga. You have to check your finances. Huwag mong madaliin. Pag-aralan mo mabuti. Alamin mo kung ano yung pinaka-okay na investment or kung saan. Sorry na wala.
Okay
Kasi
lang, okay lang.
importante talaga. Importante talaga yung mga sinabi ko.
As the financing terms pala, no? How big is the interest payments that Ayala Land investors in properties get? Is it a 10% a year? What's a typical interest rate in a year? Can
Ah,
I
zero,
uh,
zero interest, Nikki. Wala tayong
mm,
interest. So, yung 7
so
years na yun,
if
zero
it's
interest yun.
14 and 7 years, ano na siya, parang walang interest payment yun.
Wala talaga.
Okay,
5 to 7
zero.
years, wala. Depende on the turnover. So, meron kasing 5 years to pay. That's zero interest. Meron ding 6 or 7 years to pay. Basta until turnover, zero interest siya. Once you actually get the loan in the bank, that's the time you get interest na. So, yung lump sum mo, kung gusto mo siyang i-loan, doon ka lang magkaka-interest. Pero kung ayaw mo naman siya i-loan, let's say naipon mo na siya in 5 years time or in 7 years time, you can pay it na lang din para wala ka nang iba bank loan.
Okay, thank you very much. I learned a lot. Maybe
Thank you, guys.
if there are opportunities, just share it to the Awesome 10X inner circle, and then yun. I'm happy to say that I learned a lot, and
Thank you.
obviously, we do believe in a lot of asset classes. This is a suitable, stable investment. Because some people, they cannot handle the volatility of of the markets. They cannot handle the volatility of technology.
Yeah.
Kahit may disruption. A very few people kasi can understand technology rin. Even if siguro they celebrate the electric revolution, pero pag bumababa na yung mga stocks like Tesla, natatakot sila, and then umaangat din naman. Pero I think eventually they
I'm one
realize
of them. Sorry.
then it's okay. Kasi the yearly returns of stocks are very volatile. Magulo siya on a yearly. Kasi it's always daily eh. Nakikita mo siya every day. O, hindi siya like
Yun.
property na hindi mo naman tinitingnan yung presyo every day. Kaya hindi sila na, siguro kasi like, when people say, oh, properties appreciate 10% a year, wala rin naman magbebenta ng property next year. So parang, when I invest on it, talagang 7 years ako dyan, 5 to 6 years, and then I pay for it. Tapos, I'll use it before I sell it. So parang, hindi siya nagiging volatile asset, primarily because people will buy it to keep it, hindi naman to flip it. I don't know how many people flip. Maybe there are
some
then.
people, marami rin. Lalo na kung yung terms right now. The terms right now are for flipping. Kasi
for flipping.
imagine yung i-invest mo or ilalabas mo lang yung money.
Isa for keeps, isa for a flip. Para libre na yung
iba.
isang just in case.
Oo. Pwede.
Parang buy one, get one free kapag umangat ng double 7 years time.
Exactly.
Pwede rin yun.
Several times.
Several of your clients did that.
Marami
so, I think it's a good, it's just a good alternative because most people, I think they're having a hard time. Pero this is, I think, an asset class for people who have cash flows. So we really have to reiterate that property investing is very difficult if you do not have cash flows. But if you do, it's such a great asset to own as your stable, parang bellwether. Parang in a pizza pie, we always like it na nandyan siya, even if it doesn't appreciate ng malakas. But it's it's always there for 10 years, 20 years, for decades talaga. So it's a good thing. Some people perhaps own an entire building, no? An entire floor. Kapag mayaman
I'm sure
sila,
meron dito.
Floor. Ha?
Mga wheels. I'm sure meron dito. Mga wheels natin.
Mga buong building na, di ba? Kasi they can just own an entire building or an entire floor and it's their trophy na rin to themselves na all the gains that I've done in the markets, kung naka 10x sila in a Tesla or naka 10x sila sa Bitcoin nila, they might as well put it into bili kayo na Ayala property. Di ba? It's a prize na, kumita ka naman dyan sa portfolio mo, distribute mo na in an asset or kahit bahay man lang, 'di ba? If they can afford the house. Pero mahal ng Ayala properties. I think a house and lot would cost at least 6 digits ba? Sorry, 9 digits, 100 million. Mahal, no?
Nikki,
Sobrang laki ng
ano lang, excuse me
Oo.
meron ako palagi sinasabi sa clients ko yung mga ganyan na mahal. Sabi ko nga, usually kapag yun bibigay ng clients, sir, okay na rin yung mahal na later on pagka-turnover, mamahalin mo. Then mura na pagka-turnover sa'yo, mapapamura ka or
Right.
mumurahin mo yung seller mo o yung developer. Diba? Kasi usually pag mahal, worth it yan. Tapos given yung track record ng company, given yung company rin.
Tsaka yung mga expensive properties kasi, those are the ones that appreciate over time kasi lahat ng infrastructure kompleto na. As you said, in BGC,
Yes.
the reason why it appreciated, everything was there. All the workplaces, all the hospitals, malls, the top of the line na mga companies, Makati and BGC, the city district. So it had a reason to appreciate over time. And that's why they're recreating it in Quezon City, as you said. That's why they're trying to
Yes.
do it in other parts of the country, whether it be in Cebu, in Iloilo, in Davao. So those are really interesting opportunities for Filipinos that they should think about. Kasi most Filipinos just think of stocks and they don't know, I mean, siguro they know about properties pero always in the back of their head, I can't afford it. So they should be aware na hindi naman siya talaga unaffordable. You might be just needing to extend your time frame na this is a 5-year, 7-year investment pa rin. So think of it as if kino-cost average mo yan monthly. Tapos you double your money in 7 years, pwede na rin. That you can even live in. So yun yung, I think, what tama yung sinabi mo na it's a property, you live in it, you can sell it if you don't want to. Hopefully, double your money pag na-sell mo na siya. So not bad. Thanks for your insights and thanks for sharing to the public as well. Salamat.
Thank you.
There's
My pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Good night. Bye-bye. Thanks, Nikki.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Evening.
classmates. Bye-bye.